Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new video and welcome to round 8 of our F1 25 My Team Career Mode. Yes, we're back this weekend here for the duel in the Formula 1 crown. We're ready for the Monaco Grand Prix. Of course, if you missed out on the videos that went live yesterday, I would highly recommend going back and checking it out. If you missed out the video that went live earlier on today from the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix as well, I would highly recommend going back and taking a look, because as we return to Monaco, we've had some up and down races so far this season. Lando Norris 47 clear of his teammate Oscar Piastri in the World Championship. Verstappen now back up into P3 after he claimed victory last time out of the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix. We are still 12th overall in the championship right now, tied with Fernando Alonso, 1 point ahead of Carlos Sainz in his Williams car. And I mean, the team as well, we're still 8th in the Constructors, which I'm pretty happy with. Again, tied with Aston Martin here. So, as we return to Monaco, of course, this weekend, easily one of the biggest on the F1 calendar. Of course, we have now officially caught up with IRL Formula 1 as well. So a massive thank you to everybody for the continued support. Get yourselves subscribed as well. It really does help us out. We're trying to hit 150k on the channel. But yeah, as always, I'm just trying to do stuff behind the scenes inside this game. But we have got a new personnel facility update as well. So during a recent staff event, a member of the Aero team made an off-the-cuff comment that has ruffled some feathers within the chassis team. Competitive spirit aside, we are a team and we don't want to stoke division. How do we handle this? I say we just kind of, have a quiet conversation with them, tell them that wasn't the right thing to do, and hopefully things will boil over. But anyway, let's get back to Monaco then. I really want to score points this weekend.
Now, if you ask anyone who's raced here, they'll tell you, nowhere in the world is more important to get a high qualifying position than here on the windy, chicaney, challenging streets of Monaco. We're about to set the grid for tomorrow's race, but potentially for the end of the race too. So welcome along, everyone, to the Monaco Grand Prix qualifying.
Well, first of all, I don't believe the 2 pit stop rule has been implemented inside F1 25 either, so we haven't got to worry about that as we head into Grand Prix Sunday. But honestly, with the changeable weather conditions, we could see quite a crazy race here anyway. IRL, the Grand Prix last weekend was not fantastic, but, that's kind of just the nature of Monaco, isn't it, nowadays as well. So it's a big old shame, but I think, more and more questions will be raised about, kind of its place on the F1 calendar, or kind of what we can do to, make the Grand Prix a bit more of a spectacle as well there. But as we try and throw the car down through this first lap, this first lap, of course, as we head into qualifying, is just about trying to build up some confidence, make sure that we've got some good pace in the car. It is difficult to overtake around here, as we all know, so trying to make progress. It's much easier to do on a Saturday than a Sunday afternoon, but throwing the car around the lap again. Oh, just nudge the wall as we head down through to back. We still went purple through that middle sector there, despite a little bit of a mistake. Just going to be a bit easier over the curbs on the exit there as we make our way through La Rascasse. I love commentating over a full lap around this venue. Get the power down at the final corner on the run to the line. That's going to be a 1:12.5. We go 4,000 slower than Norris and almost hit the wall at T1. There we are then. Lando Norris did find another couple of tenths of a second by the end of Q1, but I cannot complain with P2 there in the first session. Just took us one run and very, very happy with it. Isaac Hadjar will line up at the back of the grid there. Dennis Hauger annoyingly doesn't make it into Q2. Neither does Behrman, both Saubers or Carlos Sainz, but Lance Stroll does, which is better than he did IRL.
Okay, I'm afraid we've been pushed down to P16.
As the time's continuing to ramp up then here as we head into Q2. Definitely starting to see some AI now getting closer to the 1 minute 11s. Seems like in-game they're a little bit slower than obviously the top times we saw by the end of Q3. IRL is so close to the wall through the Nouvelle Chicane. Let's see if we can do a tidier job through to back, not even downshifting. A bit like on F124 there, and again, it's that middle sector where we really do seem to fly. Definitely building up more confidence though, as we just have a little bit of a lock-up down through Larascas there and through Anthony Nogues again. Got to be so careful of the understeer on the exit. On the run towards the line, it's going to be a 12-3, and again, we go second. Well, there we are then. Big shocks out in Q2. Lewis Hamilton and Oscar Piastri both failing to make it into the final session of Saturday. But Max Verstappen fastest there, a 10th of a second clear from ourselves. If I end up going P2 in Q3 to another different AI, I'm going to be really, really annoyed. We've proved we've got consistent pace, but do we have the out-and-out one-lap run that's required to take pole here in Monaco? At least we've made Q3 for the second time. Of course, the best thing about heading out in Q3 is the fact we have been given one extra set of the soft compound tyres. So I've gone out in kind of that free set first. If we set a good enough lap time, then we might be able to carry one set of softs into the Grand Prix. But let's see what we can do then around these streets there. Right up towards the wall through the exit of turn 1 there, and just dance your way up towards the top of the hill. Wave to the gamblers in the casino. Gear through Casino Square as well. Just nudge the wall with the rear left-hand tyre there. Try and get the car slowed down nicely and use the camber on the inside of the apex there. Just get the rear wheel over the curbing. Just brings the car around nice and tidy. Easy, easy. Just little squirts of throttle as you make your way down towards Portier, in towards the tunnel. One of the only real opportunities you've got around this venue to really open up the taps. 180 miles an hour. Offer you a brack on the brakes. Out on the 100-meter board there, nice and tidy on the exit again. Trying to get good traction there, just blend out of the throttle through to back there, and this lap is really starting to come together. These would say I've jinxed it though, or hopped over the curbing. Big slide down in towards the final couple of corners, so we know there's a bit of time left to find if we have to go for another run through. Anthony Nogues though, drop the car off the curb nicely, nudge the wall on the exit on the run to the line, and 11.9, and again... Oh, we go P2. Maybe got a little bit overzealous. And, I've actually done a lost in power. That's a little bit embarrassing. Well, a minute left on the clock then. This is going to be where we see all of the best lap times here that Monaco has to offer through the final corner to start our last lap then of qualifying. We're getting to upshift there slightly. That won't do us any favours. At least we've got a time to chase on the Delta, but as we try and get the car nicely planted through turn 1, already a 10th down. By the time we make it up the hill, we need to find 2 tenths already on Verstappen, but he might be improving even more here. So again, shut the car through Casino Square, nice and tidy on the throttle. Allow the back end just to squirrel out a little bit, but don't let it cost us too much time. Nice and tidy through Upper Mirabeau, through the hairpin, slowest corner on the Formula 1 calendar there, and again, just dancing the car between the curbs. The Golf livery looks fantastic around this venue, but can we bring a huge story here to these Monaco streets? A 10th up by the time we make it out and through the tunnel. Again, spotting that braking at the 100-meter board there. Chuck the car between the curbs. Nice quick flick change of direction from left to right and then back to left. Or down one gear that time through to back, just to try and carry a little bit more aggression over the nose. Flick the car through the final few corners. Verstappen, he has not improved. We are improving though by 0.3 of a second. One more corner to go. Is this going to be our first ever pole position inside F1 25? It's going to be so close. We've done it.
Yes, excellent lap. We're all very, very pleased with that one. Nice work. Come on, I'll see you back in the pits.
Well, there we are then. Pole position here on the Monaco streets. 1.5 tenths clear of Max Verstappen by the end of the lap. Very, very happy with that, even though I am slightly losing my voice. Lando Norris in third, ahead of Charles Leclerc and Fernando Alonso. Only Mercedes and Red Bull got both of their cars into Q3, as Tsunoda outqualifies Albon by just 1,000th of a second as well. But we are in the hot seat, ready for the Grand Prix. Starting from pole, there is so much, though, in the changeable conditions that could go wrong.
A proper road race, and in the true meaning of the word. That's how Mr. Monaco, the late great Graham Hill, once described this iconic event. The cars we drive have come a long way in the intervening half-century, but still we race on those same public roads beside the Mediterranean. There's no victory more coveted than that of the Monaco Grand Prix. We already see the lowest average speeds of the season here at the Circuit de Monaco, and they'll be even lower in the difficult conditions today. 19 corners make up this famous 2-mile track, and with the rain, it'll be even harder than usual to get the critical heat into the tyres. So don't be surprised if we see a safety car at some point during today's Grand Prix. Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks like for today's race. Callum Voisin lines up on pole position, and Max Verstappen lines up alongside. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Norris, Fernando Alonso, Esteban Ocon, and Antonelli, Tsunoda, Albon, Russell, and Lewis Hamilton, Piastri, Gasly, Lance Stroll, and Leclerc, Lawson, Sainz, Gabriel Bortoleto, and Nico Hülkenberg, Behrman, Hauger, Hadja, and Jack Doohan rounds off the grid. With preparations almost complete, let's head down to the track.
Well, here we are then on the grid, ready for the Monaco Grand Prix. And maybe, just maybe, Mr. Monaco is back for F1 25. The rain starts out quite heavy. It is meant to taper off, though, later on in the afternoon. So only time will tell as to how we're going to get on during this Grand Prix today. 39 laps ahead of us, but lining up just ahead of Max Verstappen. The 5 red lights are on. And lights out, and away we go then. The first critical phase is making sure that we don't lose the lead down to turn 1. Looks like Verstappen, though, has actually done a bad job there, and he might actually lose a place to Lando Norris. Yes, he will. Norris immediately will move up to P2. Esteban Ocon's moved up to 3rd after Charles Leclerc. It looks like his Monaco curse is back. Oh, for 2025. Really struggling to try and get the car dialed in, though, up over the top of the hill. Of course, we've already seen a couple of times before just how tricky the wet conditions are inside F1 25, and I'm so scared about locking up a brake or going straight on into one of the corners that we've got to be careful, especially at the start of the Grand Prix. They're trying to just give it a little blip of revs to make sure we actually get the car rotated through the hairpin. You can see when you haven't got temperature in the tyres just how understeery it is around this circuit, so we're definitely going to have to try and put some heat into the rubber. Of course, in the tunnel, completely bone dry, so that's scary in its own right on these full wets there as you come out the other side. Normally you're blinded by the sunlight, but it's a very overcast afternoon here in Monte Carlo at the moment. Rather glum. I guess in this alternate universe, for the 3rd time in 4 years here, we've seen rain in Monaco, but just trying to keep the car planted through these final few corners. We don't have, you know, the out-and-out pace of a McLaren, of a Red Bull. Maybe we're a little bit more competitive against the Haas. But of course, if you guys have been watching the Aston Martin driver career mode over on my 2nd channel, you'll know that Gasly actually won a race back in Shanghai in changeable conditions as well. So maybe Esteban is just OP in changeable conditions on this game. Nobody knows.
Let's use that overtake button a bit more.
But I am already thinking about when are we going to see the switch to intermediates. Definitely see changes to drier tyres later than we did on F1 24, so we have got to be careful. Whoa. It's just, I know I mentioned it before.
Now, we're going to have to change strategy, so it's time to box.
I'm not convinced it is just yet, but yeah, as we've kind of seen before inside this game, it's so easy to kind of keep the tyres near the limit, and then suddenly you just completely cross over there as well. Here we go. Ocon, Norris, Verstappen, Alonso, they're all pitting in this Grand Prix. I'm going to try and just stay out 1 extra and hope that now we're not going to get undercut as Yuki Tsunoda, new fast lap of the day. But it looks like, yeah, pretty much everybody has come through the pit lane, so it's probably a good job that we haven't pit in this Grand Prix, as we might find ourselves getting caught up in some traffic. Bortoleto's opted to stay out, Tsunoda's opted to stay out, but everybody else is in.
Dennis is coming in.
Definitely these tyres are starting to feel a little bit worse for wear. Only 7 laps in, though, to the Monaco Grand Prix. So just trying to tiptoe around as best as we can Luckily, of course, the AI will have had to try and build up some temperature in their own rubber as well, so might lose a little bit of time. Not only that, but of course, obviously, how much carnage there was in the pit lane as well. So as we try and throw the car in, a little bit of a drift on the entry, you know, get the fans excited watching that one. But yeah, Yuki's followed me in. I assume we're going to see Bortoletto in as well at the end of this lap. And like I said, I just do not want to get undercut here. If I get undercut by Alonso, then we're going to have so much work to do in the second half of the race, hoping for a tidy stop, which we will get.
Perfect job from you and the crew there, mate. We're delighted with that. Up to speed
Alonso
now.
then making his way back out of the final corner. I think Tsunoda will have done a really good job in all of this as well, but try and get some temperature in. Don't want to get done for crossing over the pit exit line. But Yuki Tsunoda, look at that, he's jumped up to P4 then, so no idea what happened to Lando Norris. I can only assume he got held up behind both Ferraris double stacking or something like that. But yeah, this whole grid has been mixed up, and suddenly we've got a 2-1-2 motorsport car, Fernando Alonso and Esteban Ocon battling in your top three. Well, this circuit has pretty much entirely dried out now, so it isn't going to be long before we see a switch to the full dry tyres. I don't know what set of dries we're going to go on. We might have to opt for a set of softs, just so we've got a bit of extra grip as we try and settle into a rhythm.
That was the
there we go, another new fast lap of the day.
Well done.
I think we'll get the team programmed in on a set of softs just in case. Like I said, the last thing I want to do is come out on a set of hard compound tyres and understeer out wide. Talking of understeering out wide, there you go, George Russell, new fast lap of the day. So we are quick, but we're not the quickest. We're just very much helped by the fact that Alonso is not quicker than me.
Still looking good.
Oh, almost slapped the inside wall through to back. That would not have been good. And a huge panic there, so we're definitely getting close to the crossover. But like I said, I refuse to be the first car in. Definitely still a little bit of spray around the venue as well, so we're going to stay out yet another one here. We're almost a half distance in this Grand Prix.
It's time to box now.
There we go, Alonso stays out, but Ocon dives in. So we're starting to see some split strategies again, as it looks like it might just be Alonso and I that have stayed out now. Hamilton staying out as well then. But what tyres? I can't see what tyres Ocon's gone on to. That's a bit of a pity. It would have been really good to know. Well, the team have yelled at me about 4 times this lap that we need to dive into the pit lane, but I think Esteban Ocon now has been jumped by Yuki Tsunoda. So some speedy work being done by the Red Bull crew to try and get their cars slowly moving up the order, but we're still setting purple lap times or sector times here at the moment. We are going to make the call then into the pit lane and over to a set of the soft compound tyres. Again, just make sure that we're not done speeding on pit lane entries. Alonso, yep, there we go. That time round, he is going to follow me in to the pit lane, but we should get a better idea of who's where in this Grand Prix, as I believe we haven't lost the lead yet, have we? Done a very good job of kind of staying out of trouble. But soft tyres going on. Everybody else has gone hards. Well, I reckon around this circuit we need about a 15-second gap to Alonso to safely come into the pit lane and get back out there again. As there we go, into the 117s. But yeah, I can't see these tyres getting to the end already on 6% wear at the rear. We haven't nudged the wall or anything like that. Tsunoda able to go even faster. Annoyingly, we've only got a U set of softs later on, but that's probably better than nothing. Let's see what pace we can get out of this car. I mean, effectively now, the second half of this race is qualifying laps. No, oh, damn it. I mean, these tyres are cooked, aren't they? Absolutely cooked, and now we've got to damage the wing as well. To tell the team, yeah, get a new one on the wagon, because we cannot run with that kind of damage and still make overtakes towards the end. I'd rather take a new wing.
Take it easy on the car. We can't sustain this level of damage.
Yeah, I'd rather get a new front wing and have to make a couple more moves in this Grand Prix. The gap to Ocon, 90 or 18, 19 seconds at the moment, so I reckon we'll probably come out kind of somewhere near that gaggle of cars in this race. But every last bit of rubber now we've got. So easy just to cook them, and I'll tell you what, this car as well, much less forgiving than Lewis Hamilton's Ferrari that we drove in that 100% race yesterday. But in towards the pit lane we'll go.
Tyre wear now. Consider boxing or just nurse them home until the end.
Yeah, that's definitely not going to happen, Mark. Into the pit lane we'll go then. at the end of lap 28. And despite the fact we've led the first 28 laps of this Grand Prix, we are going to give this one up for now and hopefully try and get back to the lead before the end. There is Alonso's in. Tsunoda's in. They're all pitting. Why? Ocon's staying out there. So what on earth is going on then with the strategy in this race? Surely the AI aren't all going to pit again before the end of this. We've got a few of them in. We're going to come back out in P5 then in this Grand Prix. And if the AI cannot make a set of hard compound tyres work, well, suddenly I feel slightly less bad about my my softs even. Up to the back then of Max Verstappen, who is stuck behind his former teammate in Alex Albon here. I mean, this is just ridiculous. If these four guys dive into the pit lane, we might be the luckiest man in Monaco today, and that's saying something in a country known for its gambling. But to the inside of Max we will go, down at the final couple of corners. Yep, they're all pitting. Why are they all pitting late on in the day? How are they only able to take a set of hard compound tyres 10 laps here? That is utterly bizarre. But I guess for us then, it has been the lifeline we needed, because we are back out in the lead of the Grand Prix. Alonso still 7 seconds behind me. And while I was expected to be trying to do a recovery drive towards the end, it looks like we're going to be back in P1. Well, for the first time really all weekend, the sun finally starting to shine down here in Monte Carlo. And what a race weekend it has been. We've had the pace right from the offset. Did have that spin in free practice, but since then, yeah, we've just found the confidence, found the speed and the grip around here. As I've said, you know, the AI, they need a bit of a rejig around this circuit. They are so slow in comparison to what they need to be. Oh, we've got yellows out. No idea what's happened to someone then down at turn 1. Oh my, we've got a roadblock on the final lap of the Grand Prix. This is not good. It's too late for a red flag. Oh no, this is a disaster, because it could well be that Alonso finds a way through. I'm just trying to barge our way through lapped cars then, late on here, and what on earth is that? Hopefully, yep, there you go, Pierre Gasly, Ollie Behrman gonna let me by, but, yeah, I just panicked for a second that Fernando Alonso might get back to me here, whilst all of these guys were trying to figure themselves out, but no idea what went down. I'm sure I'll have a replay up on the screens for you at the moment then, but what a crazy sudden event here on the final lap of the Monaco Grand Prix. Annoyingly, it's actually going to cut down my race-winning margin by quite a while as well. But, of course, when McLaren bought their Golf livery here in 2021, Lando Norris was able to cook up a podium that weekend. Of course, he lapped his teammate in Daniel Ricciardo. Well, today, Golf have done one better here, and it looks like we're going to be taking the victory. Once again, the horns sounding around the harbour here at the Monaco Grand Prix, like they always do on the final lap. They got to witness one of their own in Charles Leclerc winning this race last year, but this time round it is going to be a new team to the top of the Formula 1 world. Through the final corner, we are going to be back on top in F1 25, and once again, I love Monaco.
Absolutely awesome. Just amazing, mate. Well done.
And Callum Voisin takes the checkered flag and wins.
A great display of dominance today, Crofty, by this driver. They led from lights out to the flag at the end, led every lap of the race. Brilliant stuff by them, and excited to see what more they can do in future races.
Welcome then to the podium, our top 3 drivers. What a great effort from them today in a very difficult race.
Well, there we are then, the end of the Monaco Grand Prix. Pole position, fastest lap, race victory. That is exactly what I'm talking about there. Fernando Alonso returns to the podium in P2 ahead of Yuki Tsunoda. Esteban Ocon, a little bit gutted for him, to be honest. He probably deserved a better result than 4th place here ahead of Kimi, Antonelli. Albon, Russell, Verstappen, Hamilton and Liam Lawson are rounding out your top 10 as well there. And did Hauger beat Charles Leclerc? Yes, he did. Hauger didn't finish last. He beat out Jack Doohan and Charles Leclerc in the end there because they both had to pit with front wing damage. We almost lapped Oscar Piastri and Gabriel Bortoleto as well by the end of the GP. But yeah, clearly on F1 25, unless they fix the AI, I think we're going to be celebrating a few more Monaco Grand Prix victories. Norris still a 47-point buffer at the top of the table ahead of Oscar Piastri, as Verstappen still ahead of Leclerc and Hamilton. We are up, though, to P8 between the Mercedes drivers once again. Alonso leapfrogs up into 10th place as well, though, so it was a good job we scored well, as Aston Martin, of course, have done the same thing. Ocon in P11 there, still ahead of Albon, and it is still just Stroll, Behrman, Hajar, Bortoleto, and Hauger that are yet to score. Constructors-wise, we move up to 5th, then best of the rest as both ourselves and Aston Martin make big gains. Once again, Red Bull and Ferrari tied on points, now both 77 back from McLaren as well. But thank you all so much for watching. If you have enjoyed, please do make sure to leave a like, get yourself subscribed, and we'll be back very soon when Formula 1 returns ready for the Spanish Grand Prix.